Once I asked Chadwick, "Are you realized?" I have put this question to all the old devotees like Marunganar and Cohen, Osborne, Sadhu Natananda, and others. None of them either said yes or no. All smiled. When I asked him whether he was realized, Chadwick did not say yes or no. Instead, he told me, "I will tell you what happened. After many years of my stay with Bhagavan, 4 or 5 years, I committed the mistake of trying to evaluate how much I have progressed spiritually. This is a thing any seeker should not do. I felt that I have not progressed. Many who saw me in Ramanasramam looked at me like I was a sage or a saint, saying, 'Oh, he is so fortunate. He is so close to Bhagavan. He meditates so much. He is already in that state.' This created a contradiction in me, as I personally felt that I was not progressing spiritually. However, having left the material life, I could not go back to the worldly life either. I felt caught between the devil and the deep sea, as it were. I was sorrow-stricken. I ran to Bhagavan's hall. He was alone, and I told him, 'Bhagavan, this is my plight. I am neither here nor there, and this causes me much sorrow.' Bhagavan looked at me compassionately and said, 'Chadwick, who says all this?' Immediately there was a current-like shock in my body, and I literally ran to my room, shut the doors, and went into a neutral state. I was not bothered whether I was spiritually maturing or whether I would be able to stay in the world. I was in a neutral state of silence. And a few days passed like that, wherein I was neither happy nor worried. The only luxury that Chadwick allowed himself was taking his bath in a bathtub, which he had in the veranda of his cottage. One day, shortly after the above incident, something happened unexpectedly. As Chadwick told me later, "I was taking my bath, and very honestly, Ganesan, I was not in a spiritual state or in a prayerful mood when it suddenly dawned, the I am." He experienced it not just as words. He was so ecstatic that he did not even dry himself. He just wrapped a towel around his waist and ran to the old hall from where a few days back he had run away. Fortunately, this time too, Bhagavan was alone. In this spiritual ecstasy of experiencing the I am, where there was no Chadwick, just the I am, he asked Bhagavan, "Bhagavan, is this it?" And Bhagavan said, "Yes, Chadwick, this is that." And he gave him a gracious smile. It was glorious. I then asked him, "Bhagavan, is it so simple?" And Bhagavan replied, "Yes, it is that simple. Since then, I have never had any doubt." Once Chadwick advised me, "Ganesan, do not try to gather more knowledge, because finally, knowledge itself will become a great hindrance to self-realization." When I made an effort to learn Tamil and sought Bhagavan's permission for it, his response was revealing. He said, "Why do you want to acquire one more dead weight? All knowledge will have to be finally given up to experience the truth. You have to plunge within in order to experience the truth. Through the relentless practice of the inquiry, who am I? The key to self-realization is practice, practice, and practice only." I took that opportunity to seek one more clarification with him as to why Westerners were drawn more to Bhagavan's teaching. And Chadwick's reply was significant. Bhagavan's message certainly is much appreciated in the West. His purely rational arguments and the lack of sentiment in his teachings have great appeal. He never preached or laid down the law. Instead, he always concentrated on turning the seeker back into himself and pointing out to him that it was entirely up to him, since the Guru could only indicate the way and guide him. For no one can give self-realization to another. When Bhagavan's will was drawn and executed, Chadwick fully supported it. He was there on that day when Bhagavan drew a line in lieu of his signature in the presence of a high court judge and a court official. Later on, when some people started contesting it, Chadwick went to every relevant government office, testified that he was there when Bhagavan executed his will, and that the management of the ashram was left to the family. According to Chadwick, he said, "Instead of any Tom, Dick, and Harry, if the family was made the managers, whatever happens, they will not leave the ashram. Bhagavan's choice is the best choice." When my grandfather, Nirajananda Swami, Chinnaswamy, passed away, my father, Venkatu, became the manager, as he was next in the hierarchy. From 1956 to 1958, I was staying in Tiruvannamalai and trying to get a job. Finding no success, I was very sad. On one such day, Chadwick called me to his room. When I went there, he said, "Ganesan, during Bhagavan's lifetime itself, Osborne, Cohen, Munagala, Venkataramaya, and I were 4 people who were very much interested in astrology. Munagala, Venkataramaya, and I believed in Hindu astrology, whereas Cohen believed in Western astrology. Osborne trusted the I Ching, the ancient Chinese science of divination. We knew that according to the will, the next president will be the eldest son of Venkatu. That is your elder brother Sundaram. But among the 3 grandnephews of Bhagavan, who will be the one that spreads his spiritual teachings? This was our question. Each of us consulted our preferred divination method, and yet all of us arrived at the same conclusion. You are going to be the one, Ganesan, to spread and pass on the teaching." He said this in 1957, when I had no inclination to take to spiritual life or stay on in Ramana Ashram. Chadwick told me, "Why do you want to go seeking a job when your place is here? Stay here." But I did not stay and went away, only to come back in 1960. As I now know that talking on the teachings is only one way of spreading it, it became clear to me that they meant I would be the one to give talks and satsangs, even by traveling to other countries. Chadwick was a pillar of strength for me when I came back to the ashram and started helping with its management. Whatever problem I had, whether financial or legal, Chadwick stood like a rock behind me. Once it happened that my father was away in 1961. I had been in the ashram for more than just barely a year, and in the absence of my father, I had to take up the responsibility of taking decisions and making arrangements. The annual 10-day Karthikide festival of Arunachala Shiva temple was on. The climax of the festival was the lighting of the Karthikide Deepam by the temple management, a huge flame on the summit of the holy Arunachala. During his lifetime, Bhagavan would be seated outside the hall from where the Deepam could be seen. The moment the Deepam was lit on the hill, a lamp of ghee would be lit in front of Bhagavan. After Bhagavan dropped the body, it was the ashram practice to keep a picture of Bhagavan and light the ghee lamp in front of it as soon as the Deepam on the hill was lit. a tradition that continues to this day.